In the quiet chambers of your inner being, where no one's voice enters but the whisper of God and the echo of your own imagination, there is a law working with unwavering fidelity. It does not waver, it does not sleep, and it does not negotiate, it fulfills. And the more clearly you understand this unseen architecture, the more boldly you will stand in your assumption, unshaken by appearances, untouched by delay, unbent by the wind of circumstance. For the truth is this: your assumption is the seed of your future, and the God who fulfills it lives within you. So let this be spoken formally as the beginning of a sacred lecture, not of intellect but of awakening, a teaching that moves like a river from the eternal into your present awareness. You are not here to learn something new. You are here to remember a truth older than the world. Christ in you, the hope of glory, and Christ is the imagination awakened, the power that calls things not as they are but as they shall be. Tonight, we enter a realm where manifestation is not effort but alignment, not striving but resting in the finished work of God. To remain unshakable in your assumption is to remain seated in the truth of your identity while the external world rearranges itself around you. For matter is not master, it is messenger, and consciousness is not a reaction, it is the cause. Feel this: your assumption is the spiritual DNA of your future, and your future obeys the structure of that inner pattern with mathematical accuracy. Science reveals that observation collapses probability into form. Scripture reveals that faith calls invisible things into reality. Imagination bridges the two, where consciousness becomes creation and creation becomes testimony. There comes a moment in every life when one must choose who holds authority, the outer world or the inner world. Those who remain unshakable in their assumption do not deny reality, they reinterpret it. They do not fight circumstances, they see them as clay. They do not beg for change, they embody it. When Jesus said, "According to your faith be it unto you," he did not point to belief as an opinion. He pointed to belief as embodiment, the conviction that the thing hoped for is already yours. Faith is the internal atmosphere in which manifestation breathes. An assumption is the form that faith takes when it becomes specific. To remain unshakable in your assumption is to declare inwardly, "What I have imagined is already accomplished, and the world must follow." This certainty is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is not self-will. It is divine will expressed through individual consciousness. Christ revealed this when he said, "The Father and I are one." He did not claim separation between the invisible source and the visible self. To remain unshakable, you must make the same recognition. You and your fulfilled desire are one. There is no gap, no waiting period, no divine hesitation. There is only consciousness accepting itself as complete. Now enter the deepening of this teaching, the energetic middle where truth transforms from concept into inner movement. Every desire you hold carries its own instruction, its own blueprint, its own spiritual momentum. You did not choose your desire. It chose you because it seeks expression through you. The desire is not outside God's will. It is the will of God stirring within consciousness. And once a desire is accepted as fulfilled, the law of assumption activates. The new state begins to structure your perceptions, shift your thoughts, alter your emotional climate, and draw to you the people, conditions, and timing required. It is not magic, it is law. Just as gravity does not negotiate, consciousness does not fail. But here is where many falter. The world reflects the old state for a time. The echo of yesterday still lingers. And in that lingering, many lose faith, thinking the law is slow or silent or uncertain. But the law is never uncertain. It is you who must become steadfast. To remain unshakable is to understand the difference between evidence and truth. Evidence is what your senses report. Truth is what your spirit knows. Evidence is temporary. Truth is eternal. So when the old world knocks at your door, when circumstances contradict your inner conviction, when logic demands you abandon your assumptions, stand still. Be unmoved. Do not answer the old world. Let it dissolve from lack of attention. Neville taught, persisting in your assumption, even in the face of the senses' denial, is the way to fulfillment. Scripture echoes this same command. Let the weak say, "I am strong." It does not say to wait to feel strong first. It says declare from the end, speak from the finished state. Stand in the identity of the one who already possesses the promise. Strength is not sensation, it is assumption. Wealth is not the number in the account, it is assumption. Love is not the presence of another, it is assumption. Health is not the body's report, it is assumption. And once assumed, it must be embodied until the world conforms. Now breathe deeper into the heart of this message. The unshakable assume their end the way a seed holds its destiny. A seed does not negotiate with soil or weather. It knows its design. It knows its future. It knows its appointed unfolding. Likewise, the spiritual seed of your assumption contains everything necessary for its manifestation. Science calls this non-local potential. Scripture calls it faith. The mystics call it the imaginative act. But all point to the same truth. Consciousness is the cause. Form is the effect. To become unshakable, you must relocate your sense of identity from the visible world into the invisible one. You must become a dweller of the unseen, a keeper of inner certainty, a witness to the spiritual before it becomes physical. This is what Paul meant when he wrote, "We walk by faith, not by sight." He was not promoting blindness, he was promoting creative authority. For sight without faith is slavery to what already exists. But faith without sight is the power to change what exists. Consider one example, a woman who struggled for years to change her life, attempting every outer strategy while ignoring the inner one. When she finally learned to assume the feeling of being the woman she desired to be, confident, purposeful, radiant, the world shifted with startling swiftness. Opportunities aligned, relationships corrected themselves. Decisions became clear. Nothing happened by force. Everything happened by identity. She did not attract a new life. She became a new life, and the world simply mirrored her. Another example, a man who had been burdened by financial fear for decades. His outer work was constant, but his inner dialogue was scarcity. When he learned the principle of unshakable assumption, he began each night entering the state of the one who already lived in abundance, not chasing it, not hoping for it, embodying it. Within months, unexpected avenues appeared, business partnerships, ideas that worked, and financial flow that felt guided rather than forced. He did not win the lottery. He became aligned with provision. Two examples are enough, for they reveal the same pattern. Identity precedes circumstance. Now listen closely, for this is the turning point of the symphony, the place where the teaching becomes personal. You must decide who you are in relation to your desire, not what you wish, but what you are. To be unshakable is to adopt a new self-concept and refuse to return to the old one. It is to sit in the throne of the fulfilled state and let your thoughts, feelings, and actions flow from that identity naturally. The unshakable do not discipline themselves into the state of the wish fulfilled. They relax into it. They breathe into it. They worship within it. For the fulfilled state is not a fiction. It is a dimension of consciousness, already existing, waiting for you to inhabit it. When Jesus declared, "I go to prepare a place for you," he was not speaking of a distant heaven after death. He was speaking of the inner realm, the spiritual state prepared for every desire he placed in your heart. Your assumption is that place, and you enter it through imagination. So enter it now. Feel yourself become the one who already possesses what you seek. Feel the shift, the subtle expansion, the rearrangement of inner space. This is not pretending. This is spiritual alignment. The world outside may not yet know who you have become, but it will. Everything in the physical must eventually bear witness to the transformation within. When doubt arises, and it will do not wrestle with it. Doubt is merely the residue of your old identity. Let it pass like a cloud across the sky. Return to your assumption gently, confidently, without strain. The unshakable do not fight the storm. They outlast it. They stand rooted in their spiritual identity until the winds die down and the sky clears around them. If fear whispers, "It's not happening," respond within, "It is finished." If time taunts, "You are waiting too long," answer, "Divine timing is perfect." If logic insists, "There is no path," declare, "The Lord makes a way in the wilderness." Remain in the end. Remain in the knowing. Remain in the quiet strength of your assumption. This is not denial of reality. It is mastery of reality. This is not escapism. It is creation. This is not stubbornness. It is faith. And faith is the technology of God working through human consciousness. As we begin the final movement, the sacred closing tone, Allow your soul to settle into stillness. Let every word spoken sink deeper than thought, deeper than emotion, into the eternal place of knowing. Your assumption is not a wish, it is a covenant. Your desire is not random, it is revelation. Your imagination is not fantasy, it is the instrument of divine creation. What you assume with feeling becomes flesh. What you persist in becomes destiny. What you embody internally becomes visible externally. Stand unshakable, therefore, not because of your strength, but because of God's certainty. The law does not fail, the promise does not lie, and Christ within you does not waver. Let this be the final truth resonating in your heart. You are not manifesting your desire, you are manifesting your identity. And identity is destiny. So rise into the fulfilled state. Walk in the end as though it were the beginning. Honor the promise by believing it fully, and let all the world adjust to the revelation that has already taken place within you. For the one who remains unshakable in their assumption becomes unshakable in their life. And the one who stands in the finished work sees the finished work unfold. Be still now. The law is working. The seed is alive. The end is accomplished. And you unshakable, rooted, awakened, are the living witness of God's perfect manifestation. And as this truth settles into the foundation of your being, allow a new awareness to rise gently within you. The awareness that the unshakable soul is not hardened, not rigid, not tense. The unshakable soul is yielded, surrendered, aligned. It does not resist the world. It transcends it by knowing its origin. You remain unshakable, not because you force stability, but because you are rooted in the one who cannot be moved. To remain unshakable in your assumption is to live from the center rather than the circumference. It is to dwell in the sacred interior where God speaks, where the imagination receives its instruction, where identity is formed. The circumference, the outer world, may shift, tremble, rise, and fall, but the center stays still. The psalmist writes, "Be still and know that I am God." This stillness is not inactivity. It is inner alignment. It is the place where your assumption becomes embodied and the world begins to rearrange itself in silence. Every time you return to your spiritual center, you strengthen the bridge between your inner knowing and its outer expression. And the more often you dwell in the end, the more naturally you begin to think, feel, and respond as the one who already possesses the promise. You dissolve doubt without wrestling it. You overcome fear without fighting it. You outgrow the old self until its voice no longer carries authority. Remember this. Your old identity does not disappear because it is conquered. It disappears because it is no longer fed. The unshakable do not starve the old through force, they starve it by feasting on the truth. And what is that truth? That imagination is the divine womb. That consciousness is the spiritual environment where miracles take shape. That feeling is the language by which destiny hears your command. That your assumption, once accepted, becomes the law unto you. This truth is not fragile. It does not require constant protection. It does not need you to strain to maintain it. It requires only that you return again and again to the end state until it becomes the only home your spirit recognizes. There is a holy confidence that grows in the one who lives this way, a quiet, unforced conviction. It is not self-righteousness. It is not superiority. It is the realization that you and your fulfillment are one, and nothing can separate you from what God has joined together. This inner certainty manifests outwardly as patience, gentleness, clarity of mind, and stability of spirit. When others rush, you remain composed. When others fear, you remain anchored. When others doubt, you remain clear, not because you are better, but because you are connected. The unshakable walk with a grace that cannot be imitated, because their confidence does not come from circumstances. Their confidence comes from identity. They do not ask the world for permission to believe. They do not wait for external validation to continue. They do not need signs to reassure them, because the assumption itself is the sign. And when you understand this, you become free from the emotional volatility of the natural world. Even Jesus himself demonstrated this inner stillness. When the storm rose upon the waters and the disciples were terrified, he slept. He remained unshaken because he was aligned with the deeper truth, "Peace, be still." And when he spoke those words aloud, the external world obeyed the internal command. In the same way, your assumption quiets the storm of circumstance. Your faith silences the wind of doubt. Your spiritual identity speaks peace into chaos until chaos becomes order. Now allow this teaching to unfold yet further. Every assumption you accept creates a new atmosphere around your life. It reorganizes your thoughts, shapes your self-talk, filters your perception, and influences your emotional climate. Over time, this atmosphere becomes so complete, so consistent, that it forms a magnetic field around you, drawing into your experience the conditions that match your identity. This is the fusion of scripture and science. Science calls it coherence. Scripture calls it faith. Mysticism calls it alignment. But all point toward the same truth. You attract what you have accepted as yourself. This is why the unshakable are not swayed by temporary lack, temporary silence, or temporary impossibility. They understand that the bridge of incident, the series of events leading to their manifestation, is unfolding with precision even when they cannot see it. They do not monitor the path, they trust the path. They do not micromanage the outcome. They inhabit the outcome. And by living in the end, they honor divine law more perfectly than those who pray with anxiety or affirm with doubt. The unshakable know that prayer is not pleading. Prayer is assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Prayer is the inner ceremony where identity and desire fuse into one. Prayer is the moment when the seed is planted, and faith is the soil that protects it. You must learn to trust that soil. You must learn to let the seed rest. You must learn to refrain from digging it up to check on its progress. For manifestation is not the result of worry, it is the result of unwavering assumption. And now, as we begin drifting toward the next layer of stillness, allow yourself to recognize the sacred responsibility of this gift. To remain unshakable in your assumption is not merely to create a better life, it is to reveal the nature of God through your life. Your inner stability becomes a testimony. Your peace becomes a message. Your certainty becomes a quiet ministry to the world. When you hold an assumption with unwavering faith, you declare to the unseen realm, I trust the one who lives within me. And in that trust, the impossible becomes natural. This is why Jesus said, all things are possible to him who believes. He did not speak poetically, he spoke scientifically. Belief reorganizes the quantum field. Assumption collapses possibilities into form. Feeling instructs the nervous system to embody the future. Faith unites the individual with the divine pattern already prepared. So remain unshakable, not for one moment, not for one day, but as a way of being. Let your inner world become a sanctuary of conviction. Let your imagination become a temple of fulfilled promises. Let your heart become a resting place for the divine conclusion. Let your mind become an instrument of calm authority. Let your soul become the meeting point of heaven and earth. For when you remain unshakable in your assumption, the world cannot help but conform. The material cannot help but obey. The future cannot help but unfold. And every desire that has touched your spirit will rise into visibility with the same certainty by which the sun rises at dawn. It is done. It is finished. And you steady, rooted, awakened, are the vessel through which the finished work becomes flesh. And as this revelation continues to breathe through you, feel the gentle but undeniable shift taking place within your consciousness. The kind of shift that does not shout, does not force, does not demand, yet quietly transforms the entire landscape of your being. Remaining unshakable in your assumption is less about holding on tightly and more about releasing completely, releasing the old narrative, releasing the frantic need to control, releasing the belief that fulfillment is distant, releasing the idea that manifestation requires strain. For what God finishes in spirit does not need human effort, it needs human agreement. This agreement is the essence of assumption. This agreement is the posture of faith. This agreement is the birthplace of miracles. To remain unshakable is to dwell in this agreement until it becomes the natural rhythm of your inner life. You begin to wake each morning, not with the question of when your desire will come, but with the awareness that it already is. And your only task is to walk in harmony with that truth. The unshakable do not wait for evidence to believe. Evidence waits for them to believe. And because of this, time no longer intimidates them. Delay no longer frustrates them. Silence no longer discourages them. For the unshakable understand the sacred pattern. The moment the assumption is accepted, the manifestation is born. What remains is simply the unfolding, the translation, the descent of the invisible into visibility. This is why Jesus spoke with absolute certainty when he prayed, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. He thanked before the miracle appeared. He acknowledged fulfillment before the stone was moved. He assumed completion while others still saw impossibility. And because he stood unshaken in his spiritual identity, the world aligned with his assumption. In the same way, when you assume the end with gratitude, not anxiety, with certainty, not strain, you step into divine rhythm. Gratitude is not an afterthought. Gratitude is a spiritual declaration. It is done. Now let this truth deepen into something even more sacred. To remain unshakable in your assumption is to become a steward of divine imagination. You carry within your consciousness a responsibility that is both glorious and intimate, the responsibility of tending the inner flame. This flame cannot be extinguished by circumstance, but it can be ignored. So remaining unshakable is not merely persistence, it is devotion. Devotion to the vision God placed within you. Devotion to the spiritual identity you have accepted. Devotion to the truth that the unseen is more real than the temporary shadows around you. Each time you return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you step deeper into the identity that aligns with your desire. You become the guardian of your inner atmosphere. You become the keeper of your spiritual climate. And gradually, as this becomes your natural way of being, something extraordinary happens. Your state becomes so stable, so consistent, so deeply embodied that the world can no longer shake you from it. This is when manifestation becomes effortless. This is when desire turns into destiny. This is when prayer becomes realization. This is when faith becomes sight. There is a profound mystery at work here, a mystery once known instinctively by the prophets, the mystics, the disciples, and the enlightened ones. They all understood that the outer world moves in obedience to the inner man. They understood that identity shapes experience. They understood that God's creative power is released not through striving, but through alignment. Isaiah declared, "You will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you." This peace is not the absence of conflict, it is the presence of certainty. When your mind is stayed on the end, when your heart rests in the assumption, when your imagination abides in the fulfilled state, a perfect peace arises, a peace that does not depend on progress, but on identity. This peace is the soil where manifestation grows most quickly. This peace is the sign that you have truly assumed. This peace is the quiet voice of the Spirit saying, "It is done." And so let your consciousness expand now, not with effort, but with recognition. Realize that every desire you hold is connected to a higher version of yourself, a version already alive in the unseen realm. To remain unshakable is to walk with that version, think with that version, feel with that version, breathe with that version, until the two of you become indistinguishable. This is the true meaning of transformation. Not becoming someone new, but becoming someone revealed. Not creating a future, but stepping into the one God already prepared. Not forcing change, but accepting the identity that produces it. Once this identity is accepted, your assumption becomes unshakable, not through discipline, but through recognition. You no longer cling to the fulfilled state, you simply live in it. You no longer rehearse the end, you exist there. You no longer imagine occasionally, you imagine continuously, effortlessly, as your native language. This is the spiritual maturity Jesus pointed toward when he said, "If you abide in me, and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you." Abiding is not visiting. Abiding is dwelling. Abiding is remaining. Abiding is living in the end until the end becomes your beginning. Now breathe. And let us cross into an even more intimate truth. To remain unshakable in your assumption is not something you do to manifestation. It is something manifestation does through you. Once your desire is accepted, once your identity shifts, once your imagination takes root, the law itself begins moving your steps, aligning your path, preparing encounters, orchestrating connections. You are not walking alone, you are being led. And the one who is led does not fear the unknown. They trust the unfolding. They trust the rhythm. They trust the invisible choreography of divine intelligence aligning all things for good. This trust becomes your unshakable foundation. This trust becomes your spiritual posture. This trust becomes your continuous prayer. The world may see instability, but you see alignment. The world may see delay, but you see preparation. The world may see obstacles, but you see orchestration. For the unshakable soul reads the world differently. They interpret everything from the vantage point of fulfillment already complete. Nothing is random. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is lost. Nothing is against you. Everything is forming the bridge from your assumption to its manifestation, even when the path is invisible. And now, as the atmosphere of this teaching grows more sacred, let your heart embrace the quiet certainty that has been rising all along. You are unshakable because God is unshakable. You are unwavering because divine truth cannot waver. You are steady because your identity is rooted in eternal completion. You are victorious because the end has been written before the beginning appeared. Remain in the end. Remain in the knowing. Remain in the finished work. And the world, without noise, without strain, without delay, will rise to meet the truth you have already accepted. And now, as this journey draws toward its sacred close, allow the final movement of this symphony to settle upon your spirit like a gentle mantle, not heavy, not demanding, but warm, sure, and strangely familiar. For what you have been hearing is not new to your soul. It is the language of your origin, the truth your spirit has always known, that what God completes in eternity, you are invited to embody in time. Remaining unshakable in your assumption is not merely a technique, not merely a discipline. It is the quiet realization that you have already been joined to the fulfillment of your desire. The end is not ahead of you, the end is within you. The promise is not distant, the promise is alive. And the one who speaks through desire does not tease, does not deceive, does not withhold. He finishes what he begins, and he begins only what is meant to be finished. So let this final truth rest upon your heart like a seal. Your assumption is your covenant. Your faith is your agreement. Your feeling is your embodiment. Your rest is your proof. And all of creation bends toward the soul that stands rooted in the end. You do not need to look for signs. You are the sign. You do not need to chase reassurance. You have become reassurance. You do not need to ask whether your desire is coming. Your desire is already home. The unshakable are those who understand that reality reshapes itself in silence, that while they rest in identity, life rearranges in obedience, that the new world forms gently around them, not through force, but through faith. So close your inner eyes now and feel the truth rise like a slow, steady tide. You are already the one you sought to become. You are already aligned with the life you imagined. You are already walking in the promise God whispered to your heart. You are already the living proof that assumption creates reality. And as you walk forward from this moment, you carry a new atmosphere, one of calm, authority, holy certainty, and effortless alignment. You move through the world as one who knows, not one who hopes, one who embodies, not one who strives, one who stands, not one who wavers. Let the old identity fall away without ceremony. Let the old doubts dissolve without resistance. Let the old fears pass like shadows at dawn. For the light within you has become too steady to be shaken, too deep to be overturned, too aligned to be undone. And now, in the quiet of your spirit, hear the final affirmation whispered with divine assurance. It is done. It is finished. Walk in it. Live in it. Become it. And the world will reveal it. Go now in the stillness of fulfilled faith, unshakable, unwavering, unmovable, a witness of God's perfect manifestation already unfolding through you.
Most people retire to their beds carrying the burdens of the day, rehearsing tomorrow's worries, or simply collapsing into unconsciousness without recognizing the magnificent opportunity that lies before them. They waste the most fertile time for planting seeds in the garden of consciousness. But you, having heard these words tonight, will never again approach sleep as merely a time of rest. You will approach it as the sacred ritual it truly is, the nightly appointment with your own divine nature. Sleep is not the opposite of consciousness. It is consciousness entering its most receptive state. When you lie down tonight and close your eyes, you are not shutting out the world. You are opening the door to a realm where all things are possible, where the laws of physics bow to the laws of consciousness, where time and space become servants to imagination rather than masters over it. Now, before I continue, let me be absolutely clear about what I mean when I speak of asking the universe. I am not suggesting that you petition some external deity or cosmic force that exists separate from yourself. The universe I speak of is not some distant, impersonal mechanism that may or may not grant your request based on your worthiness or the proper recitation of formulas. No, my friends, the universe is consciousness itself, and you are not separate from it. You are it. individualized and expressing itself as the unique being you know as yourself. When you ask the universe, you are communing with your own infinite self, that greater dimension of your being that transcends the limitations of your physical senses and rational mind. You are speaking to the power that beats your heart, that grows your hair, that heals your wounds while you sleep unconscious of the process. This same power that operates your body without your conscious direction is the power that creates your world. And sleep is when it is most accessible to your conscious direction. The secret lies in understanding that consciousness is the only reality, and everything you perceive as the physical world is consciousness pushed out, objectified, made visible and tangible. Your body, your circumstances, your relationships, your bank account, all of these are crystallized consciousness, hardened imagination made manifest. And if consciousness created them, consciousness can change them. If imagination made them visible, imagination can make them invisible and resemble something more desirable. But here's what most people fail to understand. Consciousness operates according to law, not chance. It responds to your assumptions, not your wishes. It manifests what you believe to be true about yourself and your world, not what you hope might happen. And the most powerful time to impress consciousness with new assumptions is during that drowsy state just before sleep, when the critical faculty of your conscious mind relaxes its vigilant guard and allows new impressions to sink deep into the subconscious realm where all manifestation begins. Tonight, when you prepare for sleep, you must approach this preparation with the reverence of a priest preparing for sacred ceremony. Your bedroom becomes a temple, your bed an altar, and your imagination the holy of holies where you meet with the divine. Everything you do in those precious minutes before unconsciousness claims you must be done with intention, with purpose, with the full knowledge that you are about to engage in the most important work of your day. Begin by stilling your body. Lie comfortably, but not so comfortably that you fall asleep immediately. You need to maintain just enough consciousness to direct your imagination, but relaxed enough that your critical mind cannot interfere with the process. Feel your body settling into the mattress. Feel the weight of your limbs, the slowing of your breath, the gradual release of muscular tension. This physical stillness is the foundation upon which you will build your imaginative structure. Now comes the crucial part, the framing of your request to the universe. But remember, you are not begging, pleading, or hoping. You are not asking for something you lack, because in consciousness, nothing is lacking. You are simply choosing which of the infinite possibilities available to consciousness you wish to experience in your physical world. You are selecting from the vast wardrobe of existence the garment you wish to wear, the role you wish to play, the life you wish to live. Your request must be specific, but more importantly, it must be felt. The universe responds not to the words you think, but to the feeling you generate, the state of consciousness you embody. If you ask for wealth while feeling poor, consciousness receives a message of poverty, not prosperity. If you ask for love while feeling unworthy of love, consciousness manifests more experiences of being unloved. The feeling is the secret, my friends. The feeling is the prayer that consciousness answers. So tonight, when you make your request, do not simply think about what you want. Feel yourself already having it. If you desire financial abundance, do not imagine yourself asking for money. Instead, feel the security, the thrill, the joy that financial abundance would bring you. Feel yourself living from that state of consciousness where money is never a concern, where abundance is your natural condition, where prosperity flows to you as naturally as breath flows through your lungs. If you seek perfect health, do not picture yourself sick and asking to be healed. Instead, feel the vitality coursing through your body. Feel the strength in your limbs. Feel the clear, bright energy of perfect wellness. Assume the feeling of robust health so completely that illness becomes inconceivable to you. Your body must manifest what consciousness assumes to be true about it. If you long for your ideal relationship, do not imagine yourself lonely and searching. Feel yourself already loved, already cherished, already in the perfect relationship that brings you joy and fulfillment. Feel the warmth of that love, the security of that bond, the happiness of that companionship. Let this feeling saturate your being until you are that love, until you radiate the very quality that you seek to attract. The key to effective manifestation before sleep is to construct what I call an imaginal scene that would naturally occur if your desire were already fulfilled. This scene should be short, simple, and repeatable. It should involve you experiencing the fulfillment of your desire in a natural, believable way. Most importantly, it should generate the feeling of your wish fulfilled. For instance, if you desire a new home, do not imagine yourself house hunting or saving money for a down payment. Instead, imagine yourself already living in that perfect home. Perhaps you see yourself turning the key in the lock of your own front door, feeling the satisfaction of ownership. Or maybe you imagine a friend congratulating you on your beautiful new home, and you feel the joy and pride of achievement. The scene should be brief enough to loop repeatedly in your mind as you drift towards sleep, but vivid enough to generate a strong emotional response. Once you have constructed your scene, you must enter into it with all the vividness of your imagination. See what you would see, hear what you would hear, feel what you would feel if this scene were actually happening in your physical world right now. The more sensory details you can include, the more real the scene becomes to your consciousness, and the more powerfully it impresses itself upon your subconscious mind. But here is where most people fail. They perform their imaginal scene a few times, then let their minds wander to other things, often to the very problems and limitations they are trying to transcend. They pollute their consciousness with doubt, worry, or contradictory thoughts. They sabotage their own manifestation by mixing faith with fear, with doubt, creation with destruction. You must learn to maintain your imaginal scene with the persistence of a lover, returning to it again and again as your consciousness drifts towards sleep. Each time your mind wanders, and it will wander, gently bring it back to your scene. Do not struggle with wayward thoughts. Simply redirect your attention to your imaginal act with the patience of a gardener who knows that persistent watering will eventually bring forth the desired harvest. As you repeat your scene, something wonderful begins to happen. The boundary between imagination and reality starts to dissolve. Your scene becomes more real to you than your current circumstances. You begin to feel not that you are imagining something, but that you are remembering something, that what you are experiencing in imagination has already happened. This is the feeling you must cultivate, the sensation that your desire is not future but present, not possible but actual, not hoped for but possessed. The subconscious mind, which is the creative power within you, accepts as true whatever consciousness assumes to be true. It cannot distinguish between what you vividly imagine and what you physically experience. To your subconscious, a vivid imaginal experience is as real as any external event. And once the subconscious accepts an assumption as fact, it begins the process of externalizing that assumption in your physical world. This is why the period just before sleep is so crucial. As consciousness descends toward the unconscious realm, the critical faculty that normally rejects new ideas as fantasy relaxes its guard. Your imagination has direct access to the subconscious, which is the seat of all creation. What you impress upon consciousness in this receptive state has tremendous power to become your experienced reality. But you must understand that manifestation is not magic in the sense of violating natural law. It is the operation of a higher law, the law of consciousness, which supersedes but does not violate the laws of the physical plane. Your imaginal act sets in motion a chain of events, attracts certain people and circumstances, and opens up opportunities that lead naturally to the fulfillment of your desire. You may not see how your desire can possibly be fulfilled from your current circumstances, but consciousness knows ways that your reasoning mind cannot conceive. Do not concern yourself with the how of manifestation. Your job is not to figure out the process, but to provide the blueprint through your imaginal act and the power through your feeling. Consciousness will handle the details of manifestation in ways that will often surprise and delight you. Your desire may be fulfilled through means and by routes that you never considered, by people you have not yet met, through opportunities that do not yet exists in your current experience. This is why you must not limit your request to the universe by specifying exactly how your desire should be fulfilled. Instead, focus on the end result, the final outcome, the state you wish to experience. Feel yourself already living in that state, and trust consciousness to bring it about in the perfect way and at the perfect time. Your job is to provide the destination. Consciousness will provide the vehicle and the route. Now I want you to understand something very important about timing. When you ask the universe before sleep to manifest your desires, you are not placing an order with a cosmic delivery service that will arrive at your doorstep within a predetermined time frame. Manifestation operates according to a different rhythm than your physical world, according to seasons of consciousness rather than calendar dates. Sometimes your desire manifests quickly within days or weeks, especially if it aligns closely with your current state of consciousness and does not require dramatic changes in your self-concept or circumstances. Other times, particularly with desires that represent significant departures from your current life, the manifestation may unfold gradually over months or even years, as consciousness slowly and systematically rearranges your world to accommodate your new assumption. Do not be discouraged by delay, and do not interpret delay as denial. Consciousness is always working, always moving in the direction of your dominant assumptions, always seeking to externalize what you have made real in imagination. Sometimes what appears to be delay is actually consciousness clearing away obstacles, ending relationships or situations that are incompatible with your desired state, preparing the ground for your new harvest. During this period of manifestation, your job is to persist in your nightly practice, to continue impressing your subconscious with your desired state, and most importantly, to begin living from your desired state during your waking hours. You cannot spend 8 hours a day feeling poor and expect 1 hour of feeling wealthy before sleep to override that persistent negative impression. Your entire life must gradually align with your imaginal act. This is where most people fail in manifestation. They perform their technique perfectly, but continue to live from their old state of consciousness during their waking hours. They imagine abundance before sleep, but worry about bills during the day. They feel loved in their imaginal scene, but act insecure in their relationships. They visualize perfect health at night, but talk about their symptoms to anyone who will listen. You must understand that your imaginal act before sleep is not a separate activity disconnected from the rest of a rest. It is the blueprint for a new state of consciousness that you must gradually embody more completely every day. Your nightly practice is the seed, but your daily life is the soil in which that seed must grow. Begin to act from your desired state during your waking hours. If you are manifesting abundance, make decisions from abundance rather than lack. If you are manifesting love, treat yourself and others with the love you seek to experience. If you are manifesting health, move and speak and think from the consciousness of perfect health. Your outer world will change as your inner world changes. As your state of consciousness shifts from lack to fulfillment, from separation to unity, from limitation to freedom. Remember that everything in your current experience was once only an imagination, only a possibility in consciousness before it became a fact in your world. Your current home, your current relationships, your current circumstances, all of these existed first in someone's imagination before they crystallized into physical form. If imagination brought your current world into being, imagination can bring a new world into being. The power that created everything you now experience as your life is the same power that will create your new life. That power is your own wonderful human imagination, operating according to the assumptions you hold to be true about yourself and your world. Change your assumptions and you change your world. Change what you imagine to be true, and you change what you experience as true. Tonight, when you prepare for sleep, you are preparing to exercise the greatest power in the universe, the power of consciousness to create reality through imagination. You are about to engage in the same creative process that brought worlds into being, that formed galaxies and stars, that breathed life into matter and consciousness into form. You are about to become a conscious participant in the creative process rather than an unconscious victim of it. But with this power comes responsibility. You cannot create for others what they have not accepted for themselves. You cannot manifest in someone else's life what they do not believe possible for themselves. You can only create your own experience, change your own world, manifest your own desires. But as you change yourself, as you embody higher states of consciousness, you become a blessing to everyone in your world. A light that helps others see new possibilities for themselves. Use this power wisely, lovingly, constructively. Do not seek to manifest at the expense of others, but rather in harmony with the highest good of all concerned. Remember that consciousness is one, that we are all expressions of the same infinite awareness, that what benefits one ultimately benefits all. Manifest from love rather than fear, from abundance rather than lack, from unity rather than separation. As you develop this practice of conscious creation before sleep, you will begin to notice change not just in your external circumstances, but in yourself. You will become more confident, more peaceful, more joyful, because you will know that you are not at the mercy of external conditions, but are the creator of your own experience. You will develop what I call the feeling of the wish fulfilled as your natural state, regardless of what your senses may report about your current circumstances. This transformation of consciousness is the real miracle, more valuable than any specific manifestation. When you truly understand that you are the operant power in your world, that consciousness is the only reality, and everything else is consciousness pushed out, you become free in a way that most people never experience. You become the master of your fate, the captain of your soul, the conscious creator of your own experience. Your nightly practice will evolve as you grow in understanding and ability. What begins as a simple imaginal scene repeated before sleep will develop into a sophisticated understanding of consciousness operates, how states of being create experiences, how assumptions harden into facts. You will learn to detect the subtle changes in your own state of consciousness and to make fine adjustments that create profound changes in your world. You will also learn to recognize the signs that your manifestation is taking form in the unseen realm before it appears in the seen world. You will notice changes in yourself, in your feelings, in your reactions to circumstances. You will find opportunities appearing, people entering your life circumstances shifting in ways that support your desired outcome. These are not coincidences, but evidence that consciousness is rearranging your world to match your new assumption. Most importantly, you will develop unwavering faith in the law of consciousness, not because someone taught it to you or because you read it in a book, but because you will have proven it again and again in your own experience. You will know beyond doubt that whatever you can imagine and feel to be true about yourself will manifest in your world, not because you hope it will, but because you have seen it happen repeatedly. This faith is not blind belief, but scientific certainty based on repeated experimentation and consistent results. Just as you have faith that the sun will rise tomorrow because you have observed this phenomenon countless times, you will have faith in the law of manifestation because you will have observed its operation in your own life countless times. But perhaps most beautiful of all, you will come to understand that the desires you seek to manifest are not foreign to your nature, but are expressions of your true self seeking to emerge into fuller expression. The abundance you seek to manifest is the expression of your divine nature, as an infinite being temporarily playing in a finite form. The love you seek to manifest is the love that you are, seeking to know itself more completely through relationship. The health you seek to manifest is the perfection that is your true nature, temporarily obscured by false beliefs, but never actually absent. In this understanding, manifestation becomes not about getting something you lack, but about revealing what you already are. Not about adding to yourself, but about removing the barriers to the expression of your true nature. You begin to see that the universe you have been asking for your desires is not separate from you, but is you, the larger, truer, more complete you that exists beyond the limitations of your current self-concept. This is the ultimate secret of manifestation, that what you seek is seeking you, that what you desire to experience is consciousness itself, seeking to know itself more fully through your individual experience. Your desires are not selfish wants, but cosmic impulses, not personal cravings, but the evolutionary urge of consciousness itself to expand, to grow, to become more of what it truly is. When you understand this, your nightly practice of asking the universe for your desires becomes a form of worship, a celebration of the infinite creative power that you are, a joyful participation in the eternal dance of consciousness, creating reality through imagination. You realize that you are not manipulating cosmic forces to satisfy your ego, but are aligning with the deepest urges of life itself to grow, to expand, to become. And so tonight, as you prepare for sleep, approach your practice with this understanding. Know that you are about to engage in the most sacred act possible, the conscious creation of reality through imagination. Know that the power you wield is the same power that creates and sustains the universe, that beats your heart, that grows flowers from seeds, that turns winter into spring. Feel the magnitude of this power, but also feel its gentleness, its love, its desire for your highest good. Know that consciousness wants to fulfill your desires not because you deserve them or have earned them, but because the fulfillment desires is a fulfillment of its own nature as infinite possibility seeking finite expression. Rest in this knowing as you begin your imaginal scene. Let this understanding infuse your practice with reverence, with gratitude, with joy. You are not begging the universe for favors, but are recognizing your true identity as the universe individualized, not asking for something outside yourself, but claiming what is already yours in consciousness. And tomorrow, when you wake, we'll wake not to the same old world of limitation and lack, but to a world pregnant with possibility, a world that is even now reshaping itself to accommodate your new assumption, a world that must reflect back to you what you have made real in imagination. This is your destiny, my friends, not to be victims of circumstance, but masters of fate. Not to be subjects of an external kingdom, but rulers of the kingdom of consciousness that you are. This is the truth that will set you free, the understanding that will transform your life, the power that will make you the deliberate creator of your own wonderful human experience. Sleep well tonight, knowing that as you sleep, the universe within you works to bring your imaginal acts into physical manifestation. Rest in the confidence that consciousness never fails, that what you make real in imagination must become real in experience, that your faithfully imagined desires are even now taking form in the invisible realm before stepping forth into visibility. And remember always that you are not separate from the power that creates worlds. You are that power, individualized and localized as the wonderful being you know as yourself. In recognizing this truth and living from this understanding, you become what you are always meant to be, a conscious collaborator with consciousness itself in the eternal project of creating reality in imagination. The universe has been waiting for you to remember who you are, to claim your power, to take your rightful place as the conscious creator of your own experience. Tonight, as you ask the universe for your desires, you are really remembering your true identity, acknowledging your divine nature and stepping into the magnificence that is your birthright as consciousness itself expressing through human form. The world you perceive around you is not separate from you, but a reflection of your inner state. Your consciousness is the only reality, and what you hold in your mind and heart manifests in your experience. This is the fundamental principle that underpins all creation, including what we commonly refer as luck. Now you might be thinking, but Neville, I've seen people who seem naturally who effortlessly effort good fortune. How can this be if luck is a state of consciousness? To this I say, look closer. Those who appear naturally lucky are often those who consciously or unconsciously have aligned their inner state with the very essence of good fortune. They expect good things to happen to them. They approach life with a sense of optimism and possibility. They see opportunities where others see obstacles. In short, they have cultivated a lucky state of consciousness, and the outer world has no choice but to conform to this inner reality. So how does one cultivate this state of consciousness? How does one become the luckiest person in the world? The answer, my friends, lies in the power of your imagination and your ability to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Imagine, if you will, what it would feel like to be the luckiest person in the world. Close your eyes for a moment and really feel it. How would you carry yourself? what thoughts would occupy your mind? How would you react to the events of your day? You see, when you assume the feeling of being lucky, when you live from that state, you begin to notice opportunities that were always there but previously invisible to you. You become more open to synchronicities and coincidences that seem to work in your favor. You start to make decisions from a place of confidence and expectation of positive outcomes. This is not mere positive thinking or wishful daydreaming. This is the deliberate use of your imagination to reshape your consciousness and consequently your reality. Remember, your imagination or the fantasy spinning machine is the very workshop wherein your world is created. Now let us delve deeper into the practical application of this principle. To be the luckiest person in the world, you must first redefine what luck means to you. Is it financial abundance, harmonious relationships, perfect health, exciting opportunities? Whatever it may be, you must create a clear mental image of what being lucky looks like in your life. Once you have this image, your task is to make it so vivid, so real in your imagination, that when you open your eyes, you are surprised to find that it hasn't yet materialized in your physical reality. This is the art of living from the end, experiencing in your imagination the fulfillment of your desire with such intensity that it becomes your dominant mental state. Let me give you an example. Suppose you desire financial abundance as a manifestation of your luck. Instead of anxiously worrying about bills or constantly affirming that money will come to you, you must assume the state of already being financially abundant. In your imagination, feel the relief and joy of having more than enough money. Experience the freedom of being able to buy what you want when you want it. Feel the satisfaction of being generous with your wealth. Make this imaginal act so real that you can almost feel the crisp bills in your hand or see the impressive figures in your bank account. As you practice this, you'll notice a shift in your consciousness. You'll begin to feel more relaxed about money. You'll start to notice financial opportunities that you might have overlooked before. You'll make decisions from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. And gradually your outer world will reshape itself to match this new inner reality. But remember, my dear friends, this practice is not about forcing or straining. It's about allowing yourself to feel the naturalness of your desired state. The luckiest person in the world doesn't constantly think about being lucky, they simply are. They live from that state effortlessly, naturally, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Neville, what about hard work and effort? Surely luck isn't everything. And to this I say, inspired action is indeed a crucial part of manifestation. But this action comes from a different place than mere toil and struggle. When you truly embody the state of being the luckiest person in the world, you'll find yourself naturally inspired to take actions that align with this state. These actions won't feel like hard work. They'll feel joyful, exciting, almost effortless. You'll be in the flow, so to speak, riding the wave of your good fortune. This is the difference between working hard to become lucky and taking inspired action because you are lucky. The former is an uphill battle. The latter is a joyous unfolding. Choose the latter, my friends, and watch as the universe conspires to support your every move. Now let us address a common misconception about luck. Many believe that to be lucky means to have everything go your way all the time. But this is not the case. The truly lucky person is not one who never faces challenges, but one who sees every experience, whether perceived as positive or negative, as an opportunity for growth and advancement. In fact, what others might call bad luck often turns out to be a blessing in disguise for the person who knows themselves to be inherently lucky. They trust in the perfect unfolding of their life, knowing that every experience is bringing them closer to the full realization of their desires. This trust, this unshakable faith in your own good fortune, is a crucial aspect of being the luckiest person in the world. It allows you to remain calm and centered, even in the face of apparent setbacks. It gives you the confidence to take risks and seize opportunities that others might shy away from. But how does one cultivate this trust? Through persistent assumption of your desired state. By continuously living from the end, experiencing in your imagination the reality of being the luckiest person in the flight club. You build an unshakable conviction in your good fortune. This conviction becomes your dominant state, coloring all your perceptions and experiences. You begin to luck everywhere, not because external circumstances have changed, but because you have changed. Your consciousness has shifted, and the outer world has no choice but to reflect this shift. Now, my friends, I want to address something that often comes up when we discuss the idea of creating our own luck. Some ask, if we create our own reality, does that mean those who experience misfortune are to blame for their circumstances? This is a nuanced question that requires a compassionate understanding. While it's true that our dominant states of consciousness shape our experiences, we are not always consciously aware of all our beliefs and assumptions, especially deeply ingrained in our subconscious mind. Moreover, we are part of a collective consciousness, and sometimes we experience events that reflect with beliefs rather than individual ones. The key is not to judge or blame, but to recognize that no matter what circumstances we find ourselves in, we always have the power to choose our response. This choice, the choice of how to perceive and respond to our experiences, is where our true power lies. The luckiest person in the world is not one who never faces challenges, but one who sees every challenge as an opportunity for growth. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. So if you find yourself in circumstances that seem unlucky, do not despair. Instead, ask yourself, how can I use this experience to cultivate the state of being lucky? What opportunity for growth and transformation is hidden within this challenge? By reframing your experiences in this way, you begin to shift your consciousness. You move from a state of victimhood to a state of empowerment. And as your consciousness shifts, so too will your experiences. Now let us delve deeper into the practical aspects of embodying the state of being the luckiest person in the world. One powerful practice is to start your day by assuming this state. As soon as you wake up, before you engage with the outside world, take a few moments to feel the reality of being incredibly lucky. Feel the excitement of knowing that wonderful opportunities await you. Feel the confidence of knowing that everything will work out in your favor. Feel the joy of living a charmed life. Let this feeling permeate every cell of your being. As you go about your day, maintain this feeling. When you interact with others, do so from the state of being lucky. When you make decisions, make them from this state. When challenges arise, face them from this state. You'll be amazed at how this simple practice can transform your day. You'll start to notice synchronicities and fortuitous events. You'll find yourself in the right place at the right time. Opportunities will seem to fall into your lap. This is not coincidence. This is the outer world conforming to your inner state. Another powerful practice is to review your day through the lens of luck before you go to sleep. Reflect on all the ways in which you were lucky that day. Even seemingly small things, finding a parking spot easily, receiving a compliment, enjoying a delicious meal, can be seen as manifestations of your luck. By focusing on these experiences of luck, you reinforce the state of being lucky in your consciousness. You're essentially telling your subconscious mind, this is who I am. I am the luckiest person in the world. And your subconscious mind, being the faithful servant that it is, will work tirelessly to make this statement a reality. Now, some of you might be wondering, but Neville, what if I don't feel lucky? What if my current circumstances seem to contradict the idea that I'm the luckiest person in the world? This, my friends, is where the real work begins. This is where you must exercise your faith in your imagination. Remember, your imagination is more real than the world of physical senses. What you imagine and feel to be true is more powerful than what your physical senses report. So even if your current circumstances seem unlucky, you have the power to imagine and feel a different reality. This is not about denying your current experiences, but about choosing which experiences you give your attention and emotional energy to. By consistently focusing on and feeling the reality of being lucky, despite any seeming contradictions in your physical world, you begin to shift your state of consciousness. And as your consciousness shifts, your experiences must follow suit. Think of it like tuning a radio. Just as you tune into different frequencies to receive different stations, you can tune up consciousness to different states to experience different qualities. By persistently tuning into the frequency of luck and good fortune, you begin to receive experiences that match this frequency. Now let's address another important aspect of being the luckiest person in the world, gratitude. Gratitude is not just a pleasant emotion, it is a powerful creative force. When you're grateful, you're essentially saying to the universe, thank you for this, and please send more. The luckiest person in the world is deeply grateful for everything in their life. Not just the big obvious blessings, but also the small, everyday miracles that we often take for granted. They're grateful for the air they breathe, for the ground beneath their feet, for the ability to think and feel and experience life. This attitude of gratitude creates a positive feedback loop. The more grateful you are, the more you notice things to be grateful for. The more you notice these things, the luckier you feel. The luckier you feel, the more fortunate experiences you attract. It's a beautiful, self-perpetuating cycle of good fortune. So make gratitude a daily practice. Each morning when you wake up and each night before you go to sleep, take a few moments to count your blessings. Feel the genuine emotion of thankfulness for all that is good in your life. And don't just be grateful for what you met for what's coming, for the desires that are in shares be. This practice of being grateful in advance is another way of living from the end. It reinforces your assumption of being the luckiest person in the world. It aligns your consciousness with the reality of your fulfilled life. Now, my dear friends, as we continue our exploration of how to be the luckiest person in the world, I want to touch upon the concept of detachment. This might seem counterintuitive at first. After all, if you want to be lucky, shouldn't you be intensely focused on and attached to that desire? But here's a paradox. True manifestation comes from the place of detachment. When you're overly attached to a specific outcome, when you're anxiously wondering when and how your luck will manifest, you're actually pushing it away. You're operating from a state of lack, of not having, which contradicts the state of being lucky. The luckiest person in the world doesn't wonder when their luck will come. They know they are already lucky. They trust in the perfect unfolding of their life. They're detached from specific outcomes because they know that whatever comes their way is for their highest good. This detachment doesn't mean indifference. It means trusting so completely in your good fortune that you relax and enjoy the journey until everything is working out perfectly for you. It's the confident expectation of a child on Christmas Eve, excited for the gifts to come, but not anxious or doubtful. Cultivating this state of relaxed confidence is key to being the luckiest person in the world. It allows you to be open to possibilities that you might not have considered. It enables you to recognize opportunities that you might have overlooked if you were fixated on a particular outcome. So how does one cultivate this state of detached expectation? Through regular practice of your imaginal acts. By consistently assuming the feeling of being lucky, by living from that state in your imagination, you build an unshakable confidence in your good fortune. This confidence allows you to relax, to let go of the how and the when. You know that your luck is assured, so you can release the anxiety and the need to control. And ironically, it's in this state of relaxed allowing that your luck often manifests most powerfully. Now let's discuss another crucial aspect of being the luckiest person in the world, your self-concept. Your self-concept is the collection of beliefs you hold about yourself. It's your idea of who you are. And it's this self-concept that determines the experiences you allow into your life. If deep down you believe you're unlucky or undeserving of good fortune, you'll subconsciously block or sabotage lucky experiences. On the other hand, if you truly see yourself as lucky, as deserving of good things, you'll naturally attract and unfortunate experiences into your life. So a key part of becoming the luckiest person in the world is revising your self-concept. You must see yourself as inherently lucky, as someone for whom things always work out well. This isn't about arrogance or entitlement, It's about aligning your self-concept with the truth of your divine nature. Remember, you are a creative being, made in the image of the divine creator. You are inherently worthy of all good things. Life is your birthright. When you truly internalize this understanding, when you make it a part of your self-concept, you naturally become a magnet for good fortune. One powerful way to revise your self-concept is through the use of I am statements. These are not mere affirmations to be repeated mindlessly. They are declarations of your true nature to be felt and embodied. Try this. Close your eyes and say to yourself, I am the luckiest person in the world. Say it not as something you hope to be true, but as a statement of fact. Feel the truth of it in every cell of your body. Let it resonate in your very being. As you practice this, you may notice resistance coming up. Old beliefs of unworthiness or bad luck might surface. Don't fight these thoughts. Simply observe them, thank them for their past service, and gently return to your I am statement. Remember, what you resist persists, but what you embrace and integrate loses its power over you. Now, my friends, I want to address a question that often arises when we discuss creating our own luck. Some ask, if I focus on being lucky, am I being selfish? Shouldn't I be more concerned with helping others? To this, I say, becoming the luckiest person in the world is the most selfless thing you can do. When you embody this state of good fortune, when you live from this consciousness, you naturally uplift everyone around you. Think about it when you're feeling lucky. When everything is going well for you, aren't you more generous, more kind, more patient with others? Don't you have more to give, both materially and energetically? Your good fortune overflows and touches the lives of everyone you encounter. Moreover, by demonstrating that it's possible to create your own luck, you inspire others to do the same. You become a living example of the potential that exists within each of us to shape our reality. In this way, your personal transformation becomes a catalyst for collective evolution. So never feel guilty about focusing on your own good fortune. Know that as you elevate yourself, you elevate the world. As you become luckier, you create a field of lucky possibilities for others to step into. Now let's explore another important aspect of being the luckiest person in the world, the concept of divine timing. Often when people try to manifest luck or good fortune, they become impatient. They want everything to happen immediately. And when it doesn't, they lose faith. But the truly lucky person understands and trusts in divine timing. They know that everything happens at the perfect moment, even if that moment isn't always clear to their human understanding. This trust in divine timing comes from a deep knowing that the universe is always working in your favor. It's the understanding that sometimes what seems a delay or a detour is actually the universe setting up the perfect conditions for your desire to manifest in the best possible way. When you trust in divine timing, you release the anxiety and frustration that comes from trying to force things to happen on your timeline. You allow yourself to relax into the perfect unfolding of your good fortune. And ironically, it's often when you release this need for immediate results that things start manifesting more quickly and easily. So how does one cultivate this trust in divine timing? Through persistence in your assumption. By consistently living from the state of being the luckiest person in the world. Regardless of appearances, you build an unshakable faith in the perfect unfolding of your life. This persistence doesn't mean constantly thinking about being lucky or obsessing over when your luck will manifest. It means maintaining the feeling of being lucky, the state of consciousness of someone whose life is charmed, even as you go about your daily activities. It's like planting a seed. Once you plant the seed, you don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You trust in the natural process of growth. You continue to water it and provide the right conditions, knowing that in due time it will sprout and flourish. Similarly, once you plant the seed of being the luckiest person in the world in your consciousness, you must have faith in the process. Continue to nurture it with your attention and emotion, but release the anxiety about when or how it will fully manifest. Now, my dear friends, as we near the end of our discussion, I want to emphasize the things of taking inspired action. While the inner work of imagination and assumption is crucial It must be paired with outer action for full manifestation of your luck. However, this action comes from a different place than conventional goal setting or striving. It comes from a place of alignment with your assumed state of being the luckiest person in the world. When you truly live from this state, you'll find yourself naturally inspired to take actions that align with your good fortune. These inspired actions often feel effortless and joyful. They may not always make logical sense to your graceful being, but they will feel right way on a deeper level. Trust these inspirations. Act on them promptly and decisively. Remember, you're not taking action to make yourself lucky. You're taking action because, as the luckiest person in the world, this is simply what you would naturally do. This subtle shift in perspective makes up the difference. As we conclude, I want to remind you of the immense power you hold within you. You are not at the mercy of chance or circumstance. You are the creator of your reality, the author of your fortune. Your focus, your imagination, your assumptions shape the world you experience. Choose wisely what you give your attention to. Cultivate thoughts and feelings that align with being the luckiest person in the world. Live from that state, assuming the feeling of your wish to practice gratitude, revive your self-concept, trust in divine timing, and take inspired action. And above all, persist in your assumption. Persist in your faith. Persist in your faith to are indeed the luckiest person in the world. For remember, your consciousness is the only reality, and you are that consciousness. You are the operant power in your life. You are the source of your own